Hello, welcome to another wonderful time on Journalist Hangout. Of course, Journalist Roundtable. It's time for us to get on the roundtable as a matter of fact. And of course, so many things are happening from the national dailies. We'll bring you perspective and analysis of those headlines right away. My name is Ramsey Enoch Agbo, and of course, I'm being joined by Ubong Usoro on the program today. It's good to have you join us, Ubong Usoro.
Thank you so much, Ramsey. It's always a pleasure.
Thanks for joining us on Journalist Roundtable. And of course, our other guest may be joining us before we get done. One or two things is delaying him. But as a matter of fact, let's get into the discussion today. And I want us to start from what is happening with the People's Democratic Party. I saw on the papers and I saw vagabonds is over. And I was like, hey, what's happening? These are adults, all right? And all those things happening because of what Wike is coming up with. And the faction, the problem is getting deepening by the day. Don't you think Nigerians are already tired of this situation coming from the People's Democratic Party? As a person, were you expecting, we know that parties have problems, but the level at which it's going, don't you think it's becoming something that Nigerians are wary of somehow?
You know, I'm really trying to put all of this into perspective, right? When you said what Wike is doing, and for me, I kind of want to think what is the involvement of the FCT minister in the conflict that is happening in the PDP. He is a member of the PDP, right? And as a member of the party, you have your options, you have your opinion, and you have you could state your facts and bring it to the party and bring it. And he's not just an ordinary member of the PDP. He is an opinion leader. He's a very formidable member who has funded the party in time past and also supported the party in diverse ways. But that being said, your opinions does not override the decisions of the party and party members and what have you. But let's put it into perspective now. The issues that we have in the PDP now are primarily issues of leadership, right? As the struggle of the party structure, who is in charge of the party structure. And we've seen that at the moment we have two different factions, one led by Abdurrahman, who was the vice chairman not of the party. And the other faction, Damagu faction at the time, and who has translated into Tani Motoraki faction, is saying after that particular Ibadan convention on the 15th and 16th of November 2025. So significantly, what we have is disputes for and struggle for the soul of the PDP between two very gladiators, and as it were now, we're having statements from Makinde and Wike. Makinde is Oyo State's governor. Remember that this Makinde is a second-term governor who was part of a group called G5. So the G5 were governors of the PDP who had a meeting, in a place called Delta State. At that time, Governor Ifeanyi Okowa was the PDP governor governing Delta State. And at that meeting, they decided that the PDP as a party must zone its tickets to the south. They decided in that particular meeting, and they came out and Okowa read a communique, and all of them flanked him. If you check the archives, you see the picture. And said, this is what we've decided, that as a party, we are going to zone our presidential ticket to the south. But leading to that convention that happened in Rivers State, we saw what happened at the convention where Alhaji Atiku Abubakar emerged as the presidential flag bearer of the party. And it was against, that particular meeting that they had in Delta some months back. So some persons felt that there was some level of illegality in that particular convention that Atiku Abubakar emerged as 2023 presidential candidates of the PDP. When you had the IU, who was the chairman of the PDP at that time, come out and say that Tambuwal, who was the governor of Sokoto at the time, who came out and declared and said all of his people that voted for him should be counted for Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, that when every other person had spoken, IU allowed Tambuwal to come back. And a lot of persons have said that should have never been done, it was break of protocol. But not just that, IU came on stage and said Tambuwal is the hero of the convention. And that raised eyebrow. People say you are supposed to be an unbiased chairman because you are the umpire. Right? So that was the genesis of the issues that we have now, primarily that particular convention. So these G5 governors stood by that meeting they had in Delta some months before, where they had agreed that the soul of the party, the candidate of the party, must come from the South. And they decided that we are going to support somebody from the South. And two options came. One of the options was the current president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who is an APC member from the South. Remember now the PDP already has a candidate who is from the North as the presidential flag bearer of the party. Then the other option that they had was the person of Peter Obi, former Anambra State governor from the South. So the G5 at that time were not able to pick one person. They had discussions with the two groups. At the end of the day, former Benue State governor Samuel Ortom supported Peter Obi, and he was very clear about it that he supported Peter Obi. But people like Nyesom Wike, Ogwuanyi, and the rest of them said no, we will support Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Although they didn't come out to state their support, but
their actions were speaking.
Right, but it was close to the elections that we could see that this was where they supported. Some hours before the election, I think 42, 48 hours, we heard that Wike has told his people who have been waiting for him, where do we go, which direction our leader. He told them Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and they delivered the APC, right? So after that meeting, Seyi Makinde was one of the persons that also delivered Bola Ahmed Tinubu at the meeting. So after the meeting, they had disagreements, and it is now that we are getting to know what led to that disagreement. According to Seyi Makinde's version of that disagreement, he said that Nyesom Wike told the president Bola Ahmed Tinubu that he will stay in the PDP and destroy the party. That is the first, one of the things Seyi Makinde has said. And he said he wasn't comfortable with that. He said, no, this was not what we agree, we need a value, and he left. So there's been that since that end of union. Remember, he's the only person out of the G5 that has taken a turn. The others are still friends. Even Samuel Ortom that had issues with Nyesom Wike, they've reconciled and they've come back to as friends. All the other G5 governors are still with Nyesom Wike, so that they are now G4 and not G5 again because Seyi Makinde has moved. And remember, Seyi Makinde was the only serving governor, right? Because at that time, his tenure has not expired. The other ones, their tenures ended in 2023. So he had more leverage as a serving governor. So he felt that it was now his turn to control the party. You are not all, in Nigerian politics, serving governors come with a lot of leverage. He said, okay, so why not I lead the party and control the party? So at that moment, this tussle over the soul of the party came. Which direction should the party go? We should go this way, should not go this way. This person should be. So basically, that has been the issue. But now we've seen trading of words where Nyesom Wike, made that statement in that press briefing last week and said he is now not going to be interested in the politics of Oyo State. And Seyi Makinde is saying, why do you want to be interested? Well, you know that Nyesom Wike has the capacity to be interested in the politics of Oyo State, because as it is now, the court, if you check INEC portals, the court has recognized Abdulrahman as authentic leader of the PDP. Right? The Torakile faction have said, okay, we'll appeal the judgment, but what confidence do you have that when it gets to the appellate court, or even it goes to the Supreme Court, as it often is in most cases, that you have they will overturn the judgment? These things you can never tell. So if at the end of the day it gets to the Supreme Court and the Supreme Court pronounces the Wike faction as the authentic leadership of the party, so what happens to you? So it is very dicey at the moment because all seem to be winning. Remember, at the point the court has said something in favor of the Tanimu Turaki section, but now presently the latest judgment on that on this internal issue says that Abdulrahman is the chairman of the caretaker committee of the party, and Moa Ohabuha, who is of the Wike faction, is the board of trustees chairman. And Wike faction is saying we'll go ahead with World Congresses, we'll go ahead with a convention and produce national leadership of the party. And if their own national leadership is recognized by, by the courts, it means they are in control of the party. So it's not about saying you are a vagabond, you are not a vagabond. It's about understanding the politics behind, because at this moment, it seems Nyesom Wike is winning the battle politically. Yes, he may not have a lot of people, street love. People may not really love him so much on the street and clap for him, but it's more than that. It is politics that we are talking about. And we've seen Nyesom Wike put in national chairman in PDP and remove them. Uche Secondus is a prime example. He was a creation of Nyesom Wike, a former PDP chairman in Rivers State. Nyesom Wike was involved in that project. He spearheaded Uche Secondus to be national chairman of the party. He also, proceeded and motivated his removal as national chairman. Ayu is another example. Nyesom Wike prosecuted him becoming, the national chairman of the party. He funded it. He was involved. He spoke to his friends and political allies. They made it happen. He was still the same person when Ayu came out and said Tamwa is the hero of the party. I said, no, you can't be national chairman again. You are from the north. Atiku Abubakar is from the north. And he proceeded until a reasonable conclusion when Damagum came. So he has won this kind of battles before. So we've not seen Seyi Makinde win this kind of battle.
The battle is all round,
So it is dicey at
FCT, Rivers State, Oyo State, all over.
It doesn't matter. Yes,
but he's winning all. That's what you mean.
He's also lost in some cases, because one of Nyesom Wike's very close friends is a man called Senator Sandy Ono. Sandy Ono was a senator representing Cross River Central in the Nigerian Senate. At a point, he was local government chairman when Wike was local government chairman in 1999. That was when they became friends. He went on to have a very long career in the academics. Was a professor of history. Nice, very good guy. He came out and contested under the platform of the PDP. Wike was the one supporting him to become governor of Cross River State. But he could not emerge as governor. The current governor of Cross River State, emerged as governor. And it was not Sandy Ono. So he is also prosecuted some of that, like in Cross River State, when he was taking control of the party structure. The party structure in Cross River is Cross River is very far from Rivers, maybe 4 or 5 hours from Rivers State. But he was controlling the party structure in Rivers. So he understands the game. You could even talk about Bayelsa. Remember when he was talking about going to Bayelsa to go and do that reception for governor. So Wike has these people all around, people he's worked with over years. Remember, he's been in politics from 1999. So he knows people in the political circle. So I think he and even in Oyo, there are people ready to do his bidding, to give Seyi Makinde, some very hot this thing. So if Seyi Makinde does not control the structure of the PDP in that state, Wike can bring a candidate in Oyo State. Because if this leadership at the national that is loyal to Wike is the one that is recognized by the court, that means they can bring out somebody from Oyo State, and not the Seyi Makinde may be forced to go to another party.
That's exactly what I wanted to say. Because now as it is, Wike is not in APC. He's in PDP, even though the suspension happened and that convention, you can remember what came from the court as regards that convention and all of that. And now his faction is being recognized by the ruling body, the body in charge, the regulatory body, that is the Independent National Electoral Commission. Now, if anything happens and Makinde leaves PDP, remember, like you said, Makinde left the G5 because Wike, like you said, Wike was in PDP, according to him, to destroy the party. And he wasn't excited. He said that wasn't our plan. And he left the Wike faction. Now, what if he leaves? What do you think would happen if he leaves the PDP and join APC? Because, these politicians, with them, anything is possible. So what happens? So meaning he will leave the PDP for the FCT minister?
I think even in the PDP, right, in which case you has more leverage in the PDP than even Seyi Makinde as of today.
PDP or APC?
So in the APC rather, he he has more leverage even in the APC than Seyi Makinde, because if you are looking at, okay, just yesterday we saw reports that the president has intervened again in this
Rivers State,
similar Fubara's issue and Nyesom Wike's issue, and the president, according to the information we got, said Fubara, go and recognize Wike as a leader, because he's a leader of political parties in Rivers State. From the report we are hearing, he's not in APC, but he's a leader of the APC in Rivers State. You can't fault that, because all of the House of Representative members in Rivers State are loyal to him.
What does that mean? I don't know. What's the definition of anti-party politics?
Anti-party is when you work against your party.
So how would you categorize what the FCT minister is doing? You are in PDP, but you are in charge of the other party in your state. So what does that mean? What does that translate to you?
He's still a very vocal member of the PDP. You saw him. You saw the reports that Kapi did. He was there now. So
but is it possible to work in two parties?
No, you cannot.
I don't know what
you cannot work in two parties. But we've had situations in Nigeria where you are PDP can decide, not PDP, but we've had other parties. Close to the election, we know IPAC, Inter-Party Advisory Council. They can come together, coalition of some parties, say, okay, 5-6 parties, we've met together, we want to bring all our members together and support one particular candidate. They can do that. You can be in PDP and vote for somebody in APC, right? But you don't work to destroy your party. That is when it becomes anti-party. But in democratic setting, what if your party does not even have a candidate? In this, we have 19 political parties registered in Nigeria. In this AMAC election, there are many parties, I think 6-7 parties that do not have candidates for offices. What do? Their members will not vote. Their leadership will not give them direction of where to vote. No, they will vote. That's why politics is consultation. So you can be in PDP and PDP does not have a candidate, and other parties come to consult with you, and you tell your members, okay, since we don't have, we can support. So we've had that over cases where political parties in many circumstances in Nigeria say, okay, let's support other parties, let's support this, let's support that. So you can be in PDP and support APC candidates. That just support the candidates and not the party.
That is if your party don't have a candidate.
No, even
or is it possible for your party to have a candidate and you are supporting the same candidate from another party?
No, that will be anti-party. That is when it becomes anti-party. When your party has a candidate and you are supporting candidate of another party and even promoting the candidate of another party.
Meaning it's okay for the FCT minister, because in that caption, in that headline, Makinde referred to the FCT minister as a vagabond, and the FCT minister replied by saying Makinde is a repentant vagabond.
No, it was not the FCT minister that replied. It was Larry Olayinka, who is the special advisor on media and communication to the FCT minister.
So what does that mean? He's speaking on behalf of the FCT minister. And that's why the paper had it that Wike replies Makinde. Yeah. So you can't separate that. He didn't write that without the consent of his boss.
Sometimes you can write because he's trusted, so the boss knows that whatever he said. But I don't think his boss would have said something different, right? So knowing the characteristics of Nyesom Wike, I think he would have said something in that direction. So it doesn't even matter if it was Larry, but I was just setting it directly straight that it was Larry Olayinka, who is the special advisor on media and publicity, on communication to the FCT minister. Right, so I feel that those words, thrown around, because if you look at what is the meaning of vagabond, those are not words that we should use in a political circle, right? Those are insulting words, those are denigrating words, those are pedestrian words, and not words that we should use in a political circle. So I understand when tensions are high, but these are people that have been friends before, so they could reconcile, they could wake up and reconcile. But
they say there's no permanent enemy in politics.
But talking about Wike controlling both PDP and Rivers,
both PDP and APC,
because the situation in Rivers is dicey, and you have to have control over the major political parties.
And you need a strong hand to do that.
Because if the APC, remember that at the point, somebody like Rotimi Amaechi was in the APC, right? And if you don't have eyes it could become a vehicle to your political emancipation, removing you from politics. because these are your foes in the other party. So you sometimes these politicians even plant moves in those or in other parties that can give them information as to what is happening in those parties, so that they also know the strategies to employ, right? So that they'll be able to target those persons in those parties. So these issues are there as to what we do and what not to do. But for me, I feel that the FCT, like the report that we're hearing from the president, clearly FCT minister is the leader of both the APC and the PDP, and because he has the capacity to do it. It's not everybody that has the capacity to do that, right? And he's shown that capacity over time. So I feel that Nyesom Wike and Seyi Makinde.
Is it correct? What are you saying? Is it correct for one person to be a leader in two parties? So why are they political parties?
He's a leader because he has people in those places.
Meaning the president is at liberty to come out today since he's in charge and he has the capacity and said, I'm the leader of all the political parties. There's nothing you can do.
We can never came out.
Come to us, we go to court.
No, he never came out and said, I am the leader. But you need to look at the political terrain. You had a governor who Wike supported, who Wike sponsored, who Wike brought about, right? The very entrance of Similayo Fubara into politics is as a result of Nyesom Wike. And he came into politics, and you know that you have a misunderstanding with this governor. And politically, you are calculating it politically. And this governor may go to APC, and it may offer him a viable alternative to fight you. So you have some of your people deployed to that party to mitigate whatever.
What does that speak of our democracy as a nation?
It happens everywhere. It's not, sometimes we just say Nigerian democracy. In the US, for instance, do you know Donald Trump was at one point an independent candidate? At one point, he was a Democrat, but he's been a Republican for a long time. So people even defect from outside Nigeria. It's not just in Nigeria. It's just that in Nigeria, it is very obvious and it is very pronounced. People defect outside Nigeria. Donald Trump, he's been a Democrat before.
No, I'm not talking about defection now. I'm talking about one person fighting another party, and of course, for the benefit of another party. You are a leader in this party, you are a leader in this party, and of course, you have people in this party, then you plant people in the other party for certain reasons so that they can fight or whatever, like you said.
But that is our political system, and that is where we are today.
And it's good for our democracy?
It may not be good, but our democracy is a evolving democracy. These are teething issues that we'll have. Over time, we'll come up with. There are issues that, if you look at our democracy from 1999 to date, there are issues that we no longer talk about. For instance, ballot box snatching has gone down over 70%. Political assassination has also gone down a lot of percentage. So it's a growing democracy. So as the democracy keeps growing, there are issues that we'll encounter. There are issues that will, at the growing stage, it will come around. But as we keep growing, hopefully, we'll be able to go through all of these issues.
All right, let's look at what is happening from the National Assembly now. As it was on one of the papers today that, of course, Senate delay stalls electoral reforms. Group warns of risk to democracy, the stalling of the electoral reform. Because I think in one of the papers, I was seeing it that INEC is even going ahead, with their own thing, not minding whether the reform has taken place or so. So what do you say? A group is coming out to say, well, this is risk to our democracy. Do you think so?
Right. We've had various history of the modification and codification of our electoral acts, our electoral bill as it is, when it is signed by the president, it becomes the electoral act. So we've had different issues, different scenarios. Remember in 2015 when Muhammadu Buhari came into power, the Senate, as at that time, they prepared an electoral bill that was transmitted to the president, but the president never signed it into power. The first tenure of Muhammadu Buhari, that electoral bill was prepared and given to him. He never signed it into power. The Senate approved it. It was on the desk of the Mr. President till after the elections. I like to assume that a lot of persons or some persons went to him and said, Mr. President, if you sign this into power, it can affect us here, it can affect, because every amendment is an improvement, right? It's an improvement.
And there must be changes, whether significant or insignificant.
So when those bills are translated, it becomes acts of parliament, and the president signs it into law. It is tested in the field. Well, and in this case, we tested majorly at the general elections. So when it is tested at the general election, we can now notice the lapses that were there, and when those lapses will now go back to the House, and the House will now make amendments looking at those lapses that were noticed, will now test it again. You know, like I said, an evolving democracy. So at every point we notice lapses, we get back, we test it on the field, we amend it, we go back with, so we keep improving with every election cycle. Right? Somebody was saying the other day that how we wish that we never had the military interruption or incursion into our governance system. By now it would have been more better, because we would have tested
right from independence.
Right, because we have tested it over years in different election cycles. So in 2015, it came, the Senate approved it, Taraki led Senate, but the president didn't sign it into law. In 2019, Ahmed Lawal was the president of the Nigerian Senate. He came again, and remember, Muhammadu Buhari had won his second term, so he had nothing to lose. He signed it into law. That was the one in 2022. That was the one that was signed into law in 2022. That was the one that we used for the 2023 general election, that was tested at the election. And that was where we had IREF and BVAS coming, you know, after that electoral bill that was signed and became electoral act. There was a lot of fanfare, there was a lot of excitement. Civil societies were happy that, at least we've pushed through. But when it was tested at the elections, right, and there were, people noticed glitches. For instance, INEC said that the IREF and the IREF at that time, election reporting, whatever portal, that it wasn't to be used as an evidence for announcing of results, that it was for monitoring when they got to court. And people say, So we thought that as you were uploading it, these were, because a lot of, there's a particular senatorial district, I think House of Representatives, where the person that IREF has till today, if you check IREF, because you can still log on and check, you know, those portals, the elections that we had is still there in the cloud. If you check IREF portal, the person that appears as the winner on IREF portal is not the person that was announced by INEC. But INEC said, no, we are working with the ones collated results. And people said, no, we thought this must tally with this, because it is what we have on the field that is keyed into the IREF.
So it has to tally.
It must
the manual and IREF
is supposed to tally. IREF gives us direction, we use it for monitoring, but our results announcement comes from the sheets. So that is one of the things that Nigerians raise eyebrows, and it is now included in the new electoral bill, right? One of the things that is included
and
in
this could also have impact in 2027.
Right. So the government may want to delay so that they can also reap from those lapses. Remember, these people are politicians. They understand the intricacies of it. So they understand the intricacies of it. So they may also want to delay until maybe after the 2027 general election. Then the president now can announce, because Buhari, former late President Muhammadu Buhari, delivered to Nigeria what was almost like, I'm giving you I finished my tenure. So since I finished, let me give you a document that will work and bring credible elections to Nigeria. I think we've seen that over time. That when presidents are leaving, they want to leave a legacy of free and fair election. When they know they have nothing to lose again, because you have done to them,
but the truth
no longer concerns you.
But the truth is this: something amazes me in Nigeria. The same people who preach free and fair election, at the end of the day, you see them turning the table around. So how did we get here? We know politics is all about interest, but then how would you be saying something and be doing something different? Because everyone, every Nigerian, both the youths, everyone is praying for a better Nigeria. And some people a lot of us are so optimistic. that someday it's going to get better. But with all of this, and you know, everything leaves a legacy. You understand? Like you were talking about Muhammadu Buhari now. Don't be surprised that this will not happen. This electoral bill, it may not happen. This reform, it may not happen until after 2027. It's a possibility.
But like I said, even if it happens after 2027, right?
It will have to be after the election, probably.
Two things now. What the Nigerian people can do, if we really need this electoral reform, is to lobby. Is to lobby, right? Every Nigerian is from a senatorial district. Every Nigerian is from a constituency, a state constituency, a federal constituency. So we have these lawmakers that are our people. If we lobby our lawmakers and they have pressure from their
people, they lobbyable?
Yes, they are. They are. If a lawmaker has as many as 100 letters sent to his offices, 1,000 calls, messages, and the same issues are brought to the fore. Not when people go for visits and say we get calls and say we want to go and visit our senator, and we go and people, instead of talking about issues, laugh, make jest, at the end of the day get whatever they want to get and leave. If we see that pressure, 5, 7 persons are at the office to see him, the same issues are being raised back to back to back to back. He knows that it is serious. He may not go back again. So they will now intensify effort. So that is one of the ways. A CSO should also lobby. We can stage peaceful protests. People could raise awareness, make it a bonding issue. When we put all of this pressure, that is when we can, because the government will also calculate, is this in our favor? How can we use this? Every government will want to do it. Everybody want to win election. So if we are not able to lobby it well, we may not have some of these improvements put in before 2027. The president may delay, the house may delay until after 2027, they now sign it. So that whoever, the next election, that whatever happens, we are done, giving it to Nigerians, because that's the pattern that we've seen. But like I said, even if they sign it now and they sign it in 2027, you see that when it is tested, it will make an election better. Because we've made mistakes, we've made corrections, and we've made improvements.
We made corrections, we made mistakes, and we've made improvements. The journalist roundtable is still on, and we are looking at some of the headlines from the National Daily. As a matter of fact, I'm apologizing because our guest couldn't join us. Our second guest couldn't join us on the program this evening, but so good. My guest in the studio is doing justice to the discussion that we are having. It's actually due to 1 or 2 assignments. He couldn't make it to the studio right now. All right, now let's look at another issue again. NESG says taxes, fuel hike, slow business growth in January. But some people will tell you fuel have been stable, but then the issue of taxes, a lot of people were skeptical. Some persons don't even understand how the tax works until today. I could remember we had someone on Global Morning on this very platform, in this station, to talk about a breakdown of how the taxes works, the benefit to Nigerians, who are the main targets, the multinationals that a lot of people complain that they don't pay taxes and all of that. But now NESG is saying, well, as it is, it's the taxes and fuel hike has affected businesses in January.
Right, you know that majorly we used to see a kind of slow start to business in January. And we see that over the years, because by January, a lot of persons are still trying to restock. A lot of persons will not even be back until 2nd or 3rd week, right? So a lot of businesses have not fully kicked off. Some persons take their annual leave January. Business seems to drag a bit. So some persons will travel and will come back 2nd week, 3rd week, and all of those affect productivity, because who are the persons who are the first line responders in our economy? They are Nigerians. And when most of them travel, they close their shops, you know, they close their businesses, and business do not really actually kick off fully until maybe second week of January, third week of January. So by the time you now put out the statistics, you see that the business growth will not be the volume of market capitalization, the volume of business indices that we've done will not be as much as it is maybe in February. Because by February, business has, stabilized fully. But I think on the whole, if you look at our all share index, if you look at our gross domestic product, our GDP, if you look at all of the indices that show economic growth, Nigeria has been, this last year has been wonderful and superlative for the country, right? It's been, if you look at, for instance, just today, we had the lowest dollar rates that we've had in a very long time, 1,325. We've not had that for a very long time. Right, $1 to naira. And you know what that can do for people who are importing. If you were for importers who have to get raw materials from outside the country and they were exchanging for 1,500, they now have this 1,300. This reduction in 200 can as well, if somebody was doing 100 million, can as well help the person to do an extra 5 million, right, or even an extra 10 million. So it means a lot. So you could just say, is it not just 200 from 1.5 to 1.3? But that 200, when you calculate it by the volume of businesses that some businesses do, there are businesses that need, to trade as much as $500 million in a week or in a month. Even if you are doing $5,000 and you calculate that by 1,003 and you are done, you now calculate it by 1,500. You see the difference is in millions. So it makes more meaning. So that is an economic indices indicating growth, that the nation has grown. You see the volume of business into Nigerian markets. In December alone, the volume of people traveling to Nigeria, people coming to Nigeria to enjoy their Christmas vacation. Nigeria has established itself as the hub for entertainment and the hub for tourism. Maybe not a lot, we have a lot to still do, but it has established itself as a hub for vacation, Christmas vacation. Let me not say tourism, because tourism, there's still a lot that we have to do in that sector. But vacation,
that's one area that's been
neglected. But vacation, a lot of people want to come to Nigeria. Lagos, for instance, a lot of musical artists all over host concerts in Lagos, right? People come in so a lot of monies were brought into the country. So we've done very well. Our economy is improving. The World Bank have said it, that it is slow but it is steady. You can see the gradual improvement. Food prices have crashed. Right, and these are facts that you can fact check. Not because we love the government, but we have to say it the way it is. Because when it was also going very high, we're the ones saying it. Now that it's coming, and when it goes high, if it goes high again, we also say it. So we have to say the truth. Food prices have gone down significantly. Some farmers are even lamenting. One of our colleagues, Zara, was telling me that some farmers in Kano are crying because of the rice, they harvested. They can't sell a bag of rice as to how much they were thinking they'll be able to sell. There's been significant drop in the prices of rice all over the country, legume, beans, just mention them. So we've seen this happen. But I feel that the case of January was just a one-off thing, and it's not a representation of how far the Nigerian economy has done. There's something we did in school those days. They call it discourse analysis. And in discourse analysis, they say if you want to analyze a text, it will be out of subject or out of context for you to just pick up that text and stay with the chapter. You will not have the full view.
That's true. So
you do 5 chapters above and you do 5 chapters below. So you now have the pretext. The pretext is 5 chapters before that text, the context that you want to establish in discourse analysis. Then the post-text is 5 chapters after. And you now have the context of that. So I feel
that's about 10 chapters altogether into the whole material.
But you are just analyzing one chapter.
One chapter.
So if we stay with just January. We may not have the full idea of how far our economy has done, and we may just say, January has been very bad. But we forget the peculiarities of January. Some persons even used to say that January is 42 days. Some people used to say that. They say January is 42 days. Because it seems a lot of people spend money during the festive period. Business is struggling. Some people are not back. No money in circulation. So January used to be a very tight fiscal year. So I don't think it will be right for us to just say, the Nigerian economy is not going to do well in 2026 because we saw that we're not doing. No, let's analyze. How did we do 3-4 months before January, and how are we going to do after this January going forward? That will give us a better understanding. So I feel that the case of January is peculiar to Nigeria. I don't know if that is how January is outside other countries, but in Nigeria, January, a lot of people are not ready for business yet.
No, some persons for relaxation. Don't be surprised that some persons even still use January to rest and brainstorm for the year before they get started.
Just like the way meetings. They've not put monies into
balancing what happened in 2025. Like, okay, you were talking about people coming into the country for different reasons. I know of a church in FCT here that had over 109 visitors from different countries of the world in just 2025. You know, whether you like it or not, that must add to the economic growth of the GDP of the country.
They are going to buy food. They get accommodation.
No, if it is accommodation, that period, this period, there is the whole hotel on that road. In fact, some people even go as far as kilometers to get where to put their head and all of that. So I think what you said is absolutely correct. Now, can we come back to FCT, the election, the forthcoming election? Have you thought about the number of people that seems to be ready for that election? But then, one thing is this, right? When elections are coming, you hear, people are rushing to register. People are rushing to register. People want to be part of the election. People are doing this. Our voters are responding, complying, and all of that. Then on the days of election, you begin to hear, reporters from different places. We've been here for so minutes. It's past time. People are just coming out gradually, little by little, and all. At the end of the day, you discover that the number of people who registered are far less compared to people who vote. Like in the case of FCT, for instance, 1.6 million voters are set for the FCT area polls, all right, according to the statistics that is in the media space for us. Now, what do you think, all right, of this election? Are we going to have this number of persons? I know some persons might be essential workers and all of that. We don't do like abroad where essential workers vote ahead of time. Might be. But then, what do you see or think is the issue around poor voter turnout, despite good number of registrations that you may have in the process of preparing to the forthcoming elections?
I think what we have experienced in Nigeria over time is what is called voter apathy, where people do not feel that their votes will count. But because we know that the voter card is one of the cards needed for authentication and also needed for access, there are some things you want to apply. They say put in a mode of identification.
Yes.
So for those who don't have driver's license, some persons may not have international passports. So the voter card becomes very crucial. So for them, the voter card is not for voting. It's a card for identification. Let me just get it.
That's true.
If I'm traveling, I the other day where I was going to Benue, on the road, was stopped by a police checkpoint and all of that, and I was asked, where's your voter card? I showed them, this is my work ID. They said, no, we don't want to see your work ID, we need your voter card. Or
what for?
No, so that we can
know that you're a
Nigerian.
Is there a border? Is there a border in Benue State? You're not going to Cotonou.
But I just told you now.
If it is Agilete in Lagos, you're crossing to Benin Republic.
No, in Nigeria, you're not going.
They just want to be sure.
And they do that to everybody. They stopped everybody.
I thought it's only you. I wanted to ask if you were looking like some.
No, they do that to everybody. The drivers will even tell you, are you with your voter card? Are you with a means of identification?
What period is that? What happened? What was there any security problem at that point in time?
Is Nigeria not having security issues today?
We are, but
yes,
then,
we are.
Was it more prevalent then? Because something must have prompted
I don't know,
that.
but even
they didn't tell you the reason.
I didn't ask the reason. The driver, I was even delayed for some hours
because you don't have it.
Because I didn't have. Actually, it was my work ID that I used to, right? And it was delayed, not hours. I was delayed for some minutes. I was delayed for some minutes, and in my mind, I said, if this delay is because you need, you think I'm going to give anything, I will not give.
Yeah.
And I didn't. But
true Nigeria, you don't give bribe. I know you.
But that's just what I'm trying to establish, that some Nigerians use it for as means of identification. They use their voter card. So if we have 1.6, to even get 10%, which will be maybe just 15,000 or thereabout, to come out and vote, it will be difficult. 150,000 to even have 150,000 people come out and vote. It will be difficult. That's 150,000 people come out and vote, right? So, if we even have up to 10%, I'll be very happy that in this election, because the FCT elections is not as motivating as the national general election. You know, a lot of Nigerians love to talk about things at the center. When we say president, we say, president is not doing well, president is not doing well. When last? How many presidents have you had encounter and they are speaking, they say, Amak Chairman is not doing well. We totally forget these people, right? We totally forget them. And forget that Amak is a third, for instance, Amak in the FCT is a third local government that makes the highest FAC in Nigeria. Apart from one local government in Lagos Island, in Lagos, this local government in Obiakpo local government in Rivers. Amak is a third. Amak is richer than some
states.
But some people do not know this. And they just we keep blaming Mr. President, blaming the minister, and all of that. So I feel a lot of people out of this 1.6 will struggle to have 150,000 people come out to vote. After the election, we'll be here and you see this prediction that it will come to pass. So people don't feel that their vote counts. People don't feel, there's a lot of Nigerians are not even interested. On that day, you see people will be playing football, doing their thing.
That is the amazing part of it.
And they'll be asking you, what happened? Who has won
who won? And they'll just be minding their business. But don't you think, I don't know, patriotism, don't you think, but what do you think must have led to that? I know you know.
Years of institutional failure. When a system consistently fails, you no longer believe that system. Let me tell you, we grew up hearing a story of a man who lived very close to the forest in a village. And the villagers told him, we know that where you live, sometimes lions will come to attack you. Anytime lions come, please blow a horn and all villagers will come to help you. So one day he was just living and said, let me test this village and see what they said is true. He picked up the horn when there was no lion and blew the horn. The villagers all rallied around. They came and said, where is the lion? Where is the lion? He laughed. He said, there was no lion. I just wanted to test. Some months later, he picked up the horn again and blew the horn. The villagers came and said, where is the lion? There was no lion. The third time, the lion actually came. He picked up the horn and blew the horn and nobody came.
Nobody will come.
Because you have the institution, you failed the people over years. So they feel...
Trust was betrayed.
Yes. So the Nigerian people lack the trust capital on the Nigerian institution. A lot of people do not believe, just very few institutions. There's a study that was done by one of these NGO as to the trust deficits of Nigerians in each institution. Just very few institutions in Nigeria have high trust capacities. Very few. The army, a lot of Nigerians still trust the army, right? But institutions like the Nigerian police, for instance, Their trust deficit.
My brother.
Their trust deficit seems to be, I didn't say is, I said seems to. It seems to be very low. It seems people just say police, I beg. So you can imagine, and a health sector, then you now go sector by sector analysis. There's still some sectors that people still hold in high regard. As these guys, you give it to them. So, but as a people, we have to cultivate. And our electoral sector is one sector now that is suffering trust deficiency. INEC, some people do not trust INEC again. For instance, 2023 general election, we saw a lot of Gen Zs who came out to vote. If that day of the 2023 general election was the same day that we did, the day we did presidential election, was the day we did governorship election, a lot of Labour Party would have won governorship in a lot of states. They would have. But you remember what happened after the presidential election? A lot of people were drawn back. They didn't even want to come out and vote during the governorship election. That
presidential election was something else because of the turnout and what people were doing. You can see
people.
You can see how people are hungry for good leadership in Nigeria.
But when they come out like that, for instance, I didn't say INEC failure. But if they come out like that and they sense institutional failure, they come out again, they sense institutional. Do you think they want to come out again? Except people that are being mobilized by the political parties, because there are people that will always come out. The political parties will mobilize their members to come out and vote. So those ones you know. But for a person who just lives in the FCT, he has no connection to chairmanship aspirants or candidates. He just saw their poster, heard about them, loved their manifesto. How many of them?
I think you just talked about manifesto now. Very important. I think all aspirants should. I think it's a way of correcting the narrative to an extent. All aspirants should still come out and tell the people what they want to do for FCT, what they want to do for the various, where you're coming from, you know, where you are, the people you're representing, what you need to do for them and all of that. How vital do you think that is? Do you think that can change the narrative, or what do you think can be done after that manifesto so that the narrative can be changed? The trust might not be 100%, but if you get 50% or 65%, as the case may be, is a pass mark as far as Nigeria elections and politics is concerned. What do you think?
No, the manifesto issue is also an issue because a lot of people do not believe in ideologies and in talks. If you even go for campaign, you start telling them what you do. You say, "Okay, I beg, if you are done, what show us love? What you carry come for us?" Those are the kind of words you hear. So, holistically, we have to also look at our people. Our people must be involved in the processes. Our people must be, up and doing in the process and make sure that we all work together. It's an holistic approach to solving this issue.
All right, well, rounding up, the issue of terrorism. A lot of people have cried, name and shame them, all of that. Now, as it is, terrorism financing, a federal government arraigns Malami's son on 5-count charge. Are we moving towards the right trajectory right now, as it has to do with naming and shaming of sponsors of terrorism?
Absolutely. I think we've rejigged the way we treated security over many years. I think if we had done it with this much vigor, maybe we would not have gotten to where we are. I saw the charges. One was that he failed to prosecute people who are terrorist financiers whose names were given to him as the chief law officer of the state, unauthorized usage of unauthorized possession of firearms, and a lot of other things that could be used with the intention to conduct terrorism. But it's sad to the image of Nigeria globally, because Malami was the chief law officer of Nigeria, the Attorney General, Minister of Justice. So if somebody who was the Minister of Justice in your state is now convicted for these kind of issues, what signal does this send to the country? The national committees are looking. So for me, I think this case must get to a logical conclusion. so
All
that
right.
we can sanitize our image as Nigerians.
Well, everyone, we would have loved to continue because it's so interesting right here, but we can't continue right now because of our time. Thank you very much, Ubong Usoro, for joining us. And of course, well, our other guests, you tried all your best, but then you couldn't be here with us today. But then we hope you join us some other time. Many thanks, everyone, for being part of Journalist Roundtable. Bye-bye for now. My name is Ramsey Enoch. I will